The story you're about to hear are very disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Today, we are diving into one of internet's most infamous and unsettling stories, Blowfly Girl. Originating from an anonymous post on an obscure forum, this tale has both horrified and captivated readers for years. The story is told in first person by an anonymous woman. She shares a disturbing fetish involving necrophilia and maggots. It quickly spreads to various forums, becoming a notorious piece of internet folklore. The narrator starts by describing her innocent fascination with biology and insects, particularly blowflies and maggots. This interest soon takes a dark turn as she becomes obsessed with decomposition. She recounts her experiences in detail, describing how her curiosity led her to observe maggots on dead animals. This fascination gradually evolves into a macabre fantasy involving human remains. The most shocking part of her story is her detailed account of a self-inflicted act. She describes using blowfly maggots in a sexual manner. But enough of that, now we are finally gonna go into the story from the Blowfly Girl herself. Sunday was warm and sunny, just how I always fantasized it. When I finally went through with it, I started walking to the dumpster again. I think about 2 p.m. I was really excited and nervous. I felt butterflies in my tummy, just anticipating what I was about to do. The dumpster is in the alley behind the restaurant near my house. It gets emptied on Tuesday, so by Sunday it's pretty stinky and there are flies buzzing around. Which means there are things rotting inside there, and that's just perfect for me. A few times in the past, I climbed onto that dumpster and masturbated. Nothing too intense. Most I'd ever done was take off my pants and hump against the dirty garbage bags. And one time, I laid there with my legs spread, watching the flies land on me. So anyway, I walked down the alley to the dumpster. And as usual, I made sure nobody was around, just to be extra careful. You have to go behind a tall wooden fence to even see the dumpster, and the restaurant is closed on Sunday anyway. So I knew I wouldn't be noticed. By this time, there's no way I want to be disturbed. I climbed up and over the side and onto my hands and knees into the mass plastic garbage bags and other miscellaneous rubbish. The bags felt warm from the sun. The smell in there was extremely foul, much worse than usual, and I knew it was because of my rotting meat. I sat and tried to get myself to relax for a few minutes. There was no reason to hurry. When I was ready, I calmly took off my sandals, my jeans, and my panties. Both pairs. I was wearing 2 pairs of tight panties with a bunch of my panty liners in the crotch, which keeps anything in my vagina from coming out when I move around. But I was going all the way this time. So I went ahead and got completely naked. That was a weird feeling, being totally nude inside the dumpster. It seemed very erotic to me. The sun felt warm on my skin, especially my boobs, which pretty much never see the sun. I took a pair of rubber kitchen gloves out of my pants pocket and put them out. There was no way I could bring myself to actually touch a maggot with my bare hands. Lying with my back against the side of the dumpster, I fingered my pussy. I was really wet already. I knew I would be. The sensation of the rubber glove against my clit felt unusual, and I kind of liked it. I did that for a little while, just thinking about what I was about to do. While staring at the smaller garbage bag in the far corner of the dumpster, where I'd left off yesterday, I still felt the butterflies in my tummy. I kept thinking to myself that I can't wimp out, that I had to go through with this. I wished for a moment that someone else was there to force me to do it, but decided that it was somehow much more sick and depraved to do it myself willingly. And I thought, yeah, that's me. That's what I want. I deserve this. And so I knew it was time to do it. I got back on my hands and knees and crawled to the other side of the dumpster. I sat down next to my garbage bag, gently picked it up and placed it in front of me. The terrible smell was already stronger. Carefully, I tore the bag open, and there they were. There had to be thousands of maggots. Kind of beige yellow with little black spots on them, all writhing in a large mass. I couldn't even see the rotting meat underneath them. A dozen more maggots clung to the inside of the plastic bag, which was coated with a thick light brown slime. It was such a repulsive sight, I thought I was going to throw up right there, but I didn't. I took a few minutes to get control of myself, fingering my clit while staring at the maggots, trying to work up the courage to continue. I scooped up some of the slime on my gloved fingers and brought it to my nose. I knew that it was from the reading I'd done before. It was digestive juices from the maggots, full of bacteria, and it smelled just horrible. I thought to myself, that's what I'm going to smell like. That's the stench that's going to come from my vagina. I want that, I thought. Spreading my legs wide apart, I dragged my slimy fingers between my pussy lips. My clit felt like a hard little pebble beneath the slime. I didn't want to come right then, though, and I was still right on the edge of gagging too. But I knew there was no turning back now, so I let my fingers lightly touch the top of the maggot mass. The maggots felt like nothing I'd experienced before. They seemed to have such energy, totally different from picking up an earthworm or something. And they felt so alive. I was fascinated and nauseated at the same time. Sinking my fingers into the mass, I felt the solid meat beneath. Gently breaking it apart, I could see that the meat had turned gray, except from the very center, which was still pink, and that the maggots had penetrated into it, but not too deeply yet. There was still plenty of food for my filthy little babies. I broke up a small chunk of meat that was covered on one side with maggots, and I held it for a moment, while I fought back another urge to vomit. It was finally time. I leaned forward and holding my pussy lips apart with one hand, I gritted my teeth and pushed the maggots covered chunk of meat into my vagina. And then, totally without expecting it, I had an orgasm. A quick, sharp one that only made me want more. And more was coming. I broke off another small chunk of meat along with another part of the maggot's mass and pushed it inside me. This one had more maggots on it, and I stopped for a moment to see if I could feel them inside me. I wasn't sure that I could, but it didn't matter. I wanted them all. I needed to take them all inside me. With that thought, I went sort of wild. I started pushing bigger chunks of meat and maggots, an even handful of just maggots into me, over and over. I was practically hyperventilating too. I wasn't thinking at all about the noise I must have been making, but now I could definitely feel the maggots squirming inside my vagina. Just the idea of it made me come again. Finally, once I had crammed all of the rotten meat and all of the maggots I could inside me, I felt so filthy, so disgusting, like I turned myself into some low, depraved sort of beast, and that made me so incredibly hot. together with the constant movement of the maggots inside me. But it was time to go. Holding my hand over my crotch, I slowly crawled back to my clothes and managed to get dressed again, without anything coming out. I put the gloves back into my pocket and climbed out of the dumpster, and right then, I could hold back the revulsion of what I'd just done no longer. Holding myself up against the side of the dumpster, I threw up. Ever vomited while you were horny? It's weird. Walking home down the alley, I felt like I was in a daze. I kept asking myself, how could I have done this to myself, but then asking why I'd wanted it so long. I had to walk slowly to make sure nothing got squeezed out of my vagina, but also to keep me from coming again. I found myself amazed at the whole thing, that I'd stuffed the most intimate part of myself with these things that were too disgusting to even touch without gloves, and that I was totally getting off on it. Once I was home, I locked myself in my bedroom, took off my clothes, except for my double panties, and got into bed. I closed my eyes and just let myself feel the maggots squirming inside of me. For a while, I tried to watch TV, but I couldn't really pay attention to it. The maggots were too wonderfully distracting. I skipped dinner. Later on, when I really had to pee, I did it by taking down my panties and holding my hand over my crotch, wearing the rubber gloves, of course. The next morning, I called off work after being awake most of the night. I mainly stayed naked in my bed all day masturbating, barely getting up for anything. I wanted to do nothing but let my nauseating little babies grow inside of my pussy. Pretty early though, I realized the smell was getting really horrible. I opened the window. I also wet a bath towel and stuffed it under my bedroom door. I didn't want my parents to get suspicious. Yeah, the story is way longer, but that is all I can take for now, to be honest. As you see, a really sick and twisted story. And I totally buy it, actually. There's a lot of weirder, well, I don't know if there's a lot of weirder things, but there's a lot of weird shit on the internet. And there's a lot of weird people. Anyways, if you liked the video, tell me in the comments. If you want me to continue the video and make a full series, I will read the entire story. I will cut them up in parts. But I can't read the entire story in one video. The story is incredibly long. Tell me if you puked, because I am probably gonna go and puke too. And subscribe to the channel, or there is a very big chance that you have a small dick. See ya.